Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel, and actually this week we're welcoming everyone to our new podcast that's going to be on all major streaming, so that's crazy. Today I have obviously Shanae.
Hey!
And we have Kat with us from New Hampshire.
Hey guys!
How is New Hampshire, Miss Kat?
It's cold. It's too cold.
Is it cold? Is it snowy
Yeah.
up there and whatnot?
Yeah, on and off.
Ew.
On and off already.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not my life. Not my life. We're in
Yeah.
Vegas and it's like a good 70 degrees.
Ah.
Oh, there goes the house. Hang on a second. You want to go let them out really quickly? Sorry. That was great for a new podcast. Maybe we should do a new intro in a minute. Oh, let him take Princess out too. There you go. Diva doesn't bark much. I'm sorry.
They wanted to be a part of it.
I know. Well, we were just filming for YouTube. We were just filming some YouTube stuff really quickly, and just the dogs happened to be in here, and I was like, let it be. Okay, let's do our intro really quick again, if that's cool, because this is going to be for the podcast. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. This is Krystal, Chanel, and Kat, and welcome to our new podcast this week that will be uploaded, which I'm really excited about. How are you guys today, Miss Shanae?
I'm great.
How's in New Hampshire's cold, Miss Catalina, right?
Very, very, very cold and already snowing.
Is it? Oh God, here we go. So do you miss the snow, Chanel?
No, not at all.
You don't miss? Yeah, your family's in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Which is where you just moved from.
Right.
And you were like, you get the same weather Kat does, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big difference moving to Vegas, huh?
A lot of difference.
It's a lot of difference. Okay, so we have a really cool topic today that I'm like, are you guys excited to talk about this?
I'm really excited.
I know we've talked about sleep paralysis before, but this is going to be a little bit different than what we've talked about in the past. Well, Chanel found a documentary that was from a guy that he won Sundance, or he was like up for an award in Sundance in 2015. And then Netflix went and purchased the documentary. It was on Netflix for a while. Now, we watch it on a Canadian television system I have called Apollo. And we also rented it from iTunes. It was only like, what, 99 cents?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was cheap.
It was really cheap. So it's called The Nightmare. And I've actually watched this twice now. Chanel's watched it 3 times. Kat hasn't seen it, but she's gone through the notes from it. And she was like, this is weird.
Yeah. Crazy.
I mean, really,
awesome.
really weird stuff. So basically, yeah, it is. This director went and took like 8 or 10 people he interviewed. And from there, it was people that have had like severe sleep paralysis in the past. And he asked kind of some of the same questions across the board, but really, Chanel, right? He let them tell their story.
Right.
And it was really interesting to hear this. So before we jump into all of this conversation that we have, because we have some good stuff. Like, I haven't been this excited for a chat in like a while.
Yeah.
Like Chanel and I were nerding out last night while we were writing the notes, and then I called Kat today, and I was telling Kat about it, and I was like so nerded out. Kat was like, "Oh my God, this is so good." So first of all, out of our whole crew, like main crew, I haven't really talked to our post-production staff yet, but out of our main crew, I went and I said, Kat, have you had sleep paralysis? And you said,
Nope.
No. Chanel, have you had sleep paralysis?
No, and I hope I never do.
And Blake has not had sleep paralysis. But guess who has had sleep paralysis? Yeah, I know. Of course I did. Why am I always the guinea pig with this stuff? No, but in all seriousness, I still get sleep paralysis about 1 to 2 times a month, and it's still a current thing. I do know how to get out of it, but we'll talk about that later. But I just found it really interesting. Out of our entire crew, I'm the only one that has sleep paralysis. And I actually had an experience. It started, I've talked before on the channel about living in a really, really haunted house in Colorado Springs, Colorado. That is the house that it started in. And I've had it ever since. Great. Thanks. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? I think I was like in my mid-20s or late 20s when I lived in that house. I was only there for like barely a year. I actually ended my lease early there because it was so haunted.
Wow.
But like the last week I was there, kind of had an experience with something that I thought was very dark, and then what I think it caused was sleep paralysis. So anyway, let's talk about it. So first, let's talk about, you want to talk about how you found the documentary and like your first time like watching it, because you're the one that found it, Chanel.
The first time I watched it was actually, I think it was my brother that told me about it, because he has had sleep paralysis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Him and his girlfriend. And he told me about it because he knew that I was interested in that sort of topic. And I watched it. When I first watched it, the first time, it, like, actually scared me. Like, the first time something actually scared me and I had to, like, sleep with some music on or something. Because I was like, I don't want to have this happen to me. Like, I really didn't. So that's really...
That's interesting you say that, though, because we've watched it twice since you've been here, like, literally once last week and once this week, and Blake was walking by us when we were watching it. He literally couldn't sit down to watch it. He was like, whatever this movie is, it creeps me out so bad. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even watch it. So Blake refused to watch it with us. So, and we're not going to get into the super, super creepy stuff because you have to watch it. They did some reenactments on it. It is docu-style. So it opens with the title Nightmare and what the definition is, which the definition via the director is denoting an evil spirit throughout the night to lie upon and suffocate sleepers. Ugh.
It's a no from me, dog.
I don't think so. You know what I mean? So basically it's saying
way.
there's an evil spirit that's lying on you, suffocating you. That is like the definition of nightmare. So anyway, moving forward, so they start interviewing all of these people, and the first one that opens was really weird to me. Basically, it's a guy. They have several people on here. Some of them are claiming they think when they're having sleep paralysis, what they're encountering is demonic activity. But then you do have a handful of people that's actually claiming that it's alien activity and like alien abductions.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't really expecting that. I thought that was a little bit in left field. For my personal experience, I'm definitely going with the demonic side. Definitely don't think that it was alien contact. But then again, maybe it is alien contact and it's not even sleep paralysis that those people are having. Maybe it's like an actual abduction that's going on. But the first thing he says is he remembers his earliest memory of going back to being a child. And he was like 5 years old standing in front of the TV. And it's like a news anchor talking to him. And like he doesn't understand why the news anchor is like directly speaking to him. And he says, hey Chris. He goes, everything's going to be okay. And one day we'll be back. And he went running into his mom to tell him, like, yeah, I've been having these sleep paralysis issues, plus this thing talked to me through, like, the television. And, of course, his parents thought he was, like, crazy. Like, you know, people can't talk to you through the TV. It was really creepy.
Well, he was, like, what, 5 years old?
He was, like, 5.
So, obviously, it's young enough of an age to where parents could think, oh, imagination,
right.
you know?
Well, thank God I didn't have sleep paralysis as a child, because that would freak me out. Like,
Yeah.
being a kid, I had paranormal activity as a kid anyways, but I can't imagine experiencing that as a kid. And a lot of these people actually did experience, like, the sleep paralysis at a very, very young age. So this is one of the kids who actually thinks it was alien contact. And the way he was explaining him, Chanel, do you want to talk about the static figures that he feels like he saw on more than one occasion,
Yes.
by the way?
So he, the way that he describes it is he's in his crib and he sees like the bars of the crib, and over the crib there's these tall, sort of like, I guess you could say stereotypical, I don't know,
Green
explanation
beans or
of
grays.
what, yeah.
Right.
So it was that, but the hands, like the fingers were long, slender, and the body was like
Cat's like, I'm glad I didn't watch it.
like imagine TV static.
Yep.
But somebody's body is that.
Their whole body was static from like neck to feet.
Yes.
And
They
like,
were tickling him.
And they were tickling him. He was in sleep paralysis at like the age of 5 and under in a crib. And they're tickling him, and he can't laugh. Like, that's torture enough to me.
Right, and he can't move.
He can't move. He can't say no. And, like, these alien beings think it's funny.
Right.
And so he's basically had interaction with these beings, like, his whole life. He even made a mask. Do you remember the mask?
Yes.
He said he like, a few years ago, he had an art project to do, and he turned it into a mask. And it was, like... It kind of makes you want to throw up a little bit, just the way it looks. Hopefully Chanel can find it. So let's just keep going from there. So anyway, there's always like the same stories with sleep paralysis, which is like tingling of the body, jolting, like certain different functions. What did you find interesting throughout the read, Kat, that we gave you?
I found it really creepy. So, like, we had chatted about this too a little bit before, and especially with Chanel previously talking about, like, really, like, slender fingers and, like, you know, tall figures, especially with sleep paralysis. And I wondered, actually, if there was a connection between that and, like, Slender Man.
Right.
And if there was any parallels regarding that, because the characteristics about some of these figures are very similar to what we would characterize Slender Man as.
Right.
So it kind of makes you wonder if it's maybe parallel to that.
Right, which I was shocked when you said that, because I didn't even think about that personally. So a lot of the figures they see, so there's only a couple people that they interviewed in this documentary. Once again, this is called The Nightmare. It's a documentary from 2015. If anyone's interested in looking it up, it's really good, I think. Very creepy, though. It's very creepy.
I did find a picture of what the static things look like. I don't know if you can really see it that well.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
I'm still trying to find the mask.
Did you see it? Kat's like, I'm not gonna look. It's so bad. But yeah, that was the reenactment that they had in the actually documentary. But so going back to these people, so there's only a couple people that claim this is possibly like alien abductions or alien contact. But the majority of the people will see the same thing. And I was actually really relieved to watch this personally, because I've had a similar interaction. So I'll talk about mine after I talk about theirs. So most of the time, the people that are having sleep paralysis, they'll basically feel them, they explain it as my body is asleep and my mind is awake. And I can vouch for that same thing. I know in my conscious that I am fully alert, and like you do everything you can. You feel so trapped because you're like, just move your hand, or like just like kick your leg, and you literally can't. Or like you'll sit there and just try and you can't, and you're like kind of like, what the F is going on? You know what I mean? You're like frustrated because you're like, what's going on? Especially when it first started happening to me, I would have really long episodes where now I can get out of it immediately. We'll go into that soon. But basically, they'll feel their body twitching. So, like, it's them trying to, like, get up or, like, wake yourself up, and you can't. And these people will say that they'll go into, like, the sleep paralysis. It looks exactly like wherever they're at, like the room. And one guy even said that he actually got up out of his body and turned around and looked and saw his body sitting there. That's one of the very first experiences I've had with sleep paralysis. Have I told you guys about that? I think I have, mentioning in the past.
Yeah.
But I was asleep, and I was actually asleep on my stomach, and I had, which is weird because I never sleep on my stomach anyways, but I had my hand like kind of resting on this arm, or my head, not my hand, it was like this. And I fell asleep, well, my body fell asleep, and I was like, all of a sudden, realized that I'm out of my body, and I can literally see myself asleep, I'm breathing, and of course, like, when you first experience that, the first thing you think is, how did I die? Right? Like, wow. I died, and, like, now my spirit's floating here, and now I'm freaking out because it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
But and so I remember literally, like, freezing and, like, staring at my body to see if I was breathing. I do. I remember, like, was I breathing, you know? And this guy in the documentary had the exact same interaction. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what's happening? You know what I mean? Like, is this astral projection? Like, so many thoughts are going through your head. But all I know is I should probably try to get back inside. Like, I feel like this is not a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, and, like, you're frustrated because you have no idea what to do. Like, I remember, like, I literally tried to lay in the same position. Like, I did everything I could, and I just couldn't get back in. And so all of a sudden, this is the haunted house that I'm living in Colorado Springs. And there was a lot of traffic. Like, at 1 a.m, you would hear, like, full on, like, a party going on in the attic. The attic was, like, screwed and, like, and nailed shut with, like, 100 and 200 nails and screws. So the owners didn't want you up there, in other words. Like, they did not want you to go up there. I don't know what was up there. But anyway, you'd hear the traffic. So I'm standing outside my body, and I'm remembering this. Like, oh, my God. I'm living in a haunted house. Like, I shouldn't be out of my body. Like, this isn't good, you know? And, like, I remember even, like, clapping outside of my face to try to, like, wake myself up. I didn't know what to do, you know? Like, right. Imagine being in that position.
Yeah.
So I remember I'm sitting there trying to figure out how to get back in, and all of a sudden I look over to our staircase, which goes to the basement of this house. And I see a shadow man crawling on, like, knees and hands up the stairs. So some people would call it a crawler. I'm going to be honest, it wasn't a typical crawler because they have those in Jerome that I've seen. This was like a very conscious being, knew what it was doing.
Right.
And it has no face, fully black, but very 3D, crawling towards me on hands and knees. And I'm like, once again, I'm outside my body, like, wake up, Krystal, get up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm freaking out because, once again, I cannot figure out how to get back in. Now, at some point, I do get back in, but I can't tell you how. Like, I don't remember anything from clapping outside my body to all of a sudden being able to wake up. And I woke up, and it's so weird because when that happens, you're alert. Like, you've been awake, but your body's been asleep. So it's like your mind is like, I know what's going on, but your body is like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like, what happened? You know what I mean? So I was like stumbling around, jolting, because it was like I was looking for someone in my house, basically thinking someone was in my house. So that was fun. That was the only time I've actually interacted with what other people have seen, the same thing, which is a faceless 3D shadow man. And sometimes people have felt like they've been attacked during sleep paralysis by this thing. And there's also something called the Hat Man. Do you want to talk about the Hat Man?
So the Hat Man is basically the boss, or some people call him the Attack. And the other shadow people that they see, shadow men, I guess, that they see are his minions. So there's 3 of them. And people who see the Hat Man know that they're going to have some sort of, like, physical interactions.
Violent sometimes.
Violent, yeah.
Oftentimes there's, like, metal tools involved where they'll feel like they're being pinched or hurt by a metal object, and they wake up with bruises or pains in that same spot, which is weird. Which creeped me out. I didn't have that, thank God, happen. But back to the Shadow Man thing. Some of these people, literally, I have on my notes here, 2 and 3 years old in the crib, they have memories of having sleep paralysis and seeing shadow men.
And that's, well, I guess I can't say that's crazy, because
paranormal is different than sleep paralysis. That is horrifying.
That is horrifying.
And I still have it, and it's not fun. You know what I mean? I actually had it last night after we watched the documentary.
Did you?
Not for long, because I got myself out of it.
Yeah.
But I was like, great. I actually got up and saged.
Well, because they even
Did you smell the sage last night? I did. You went to bed before me, and I literally went to bed, felt sleep paralysis, and I was like, nope, I went and saged.
Well, because they even do say that they feel like even if they are talking to somebody about it or mentioning it in passing to somebody, that there's almost a guarantee that night they'll have it.
And then their family and friends think they're crazy. I've never felt like I was crazy because I'm so sure of what I experienced. I'm not questioning it. Do you know what I'm saying? But fast forwarding with that discussion, so people even say, like, they slip out of consciousness. The body feels like it's shutting down, but the mind isn't. But they feel the vibration, electrical shocks, and voices, buzzing, screaming, emotional yelling, and even negative feelings, or like the white noise seems to always be common when they're going into it.
Yeah.
So there was a theory on the actual documentary where maybe there's multiple realms or dimensions that all overlap each other, and somehow when we're in sleep paralysis is when they actually get like the tick of going into a different dimension or something by accident, which Blake is actually into that theory. He really believes like there's multiple dimensions, and even when we can communicate with the other side, like with our paranormal, it's when the dimensions are like crossing each other or whatever.
Well, it's kind of similar to also because they made a reference to the movie, I guess, Insidious. That deals with other dimensions and astral projecting.
Right.
Essentially.
You know what? Let's define that, though. Isn't there a difference between astral projection and sleep paralysis? Because I feel like those two get crossed a lot, and I don't think they should.
I was literally just going to ask that. Like, if you're having that feeling or that out-of-body experience where you're seeing yourself, would that be considered the astral plane?
Right.
So, in my opinion, with astral projection is someone is very much in control of their, like, spirit or soul traveling, like an astral traveler. They do say when you leave your vessel that you are opening up to, like, possession or, like, oppression or whatever. But it's not the same to me as sleep paralysis. In my opinion, which Insidious did cross the two.
They did.
Sleep paralysis is when you're either stuck inside your body or see yourself outside your body, and all you're doing is trying to get up or wake yourself up. Where an astral traveler is someone that's wanting to like go abroad or travel or whatever else. So there's a distinct difference. I mean, technically, if you're looking at your body outside of yourself, it could be astral projection.
In a sense, yeah.
But most people aren't wanting to leave. It's not like, peace out, I'll see you later, you know what I mean? So there's a big difference. But with Insidious, which we did watch that the other night too, and I know you guys are talking about shadow men and stuff, but we're not talking about just seeing it paranormal. I'm talking about, imagine being asleep in your body, but fully conscious, not able to move. So you can't investigate the shadow man, you can't talk to the shadow man. It's literally like it's coming to attack your body while your consciousness is awake.
Right. And can I just say, it's not just a shadow man. It's almost how they described it as a shadow, but it's so much more solid and darker
than what a shadow is. It's not just a shadow, it's a person.
It's a 3D
with no face.
With no face.
Right. Which is scary as hell to me personally. These people too, okay, so I'm moving on to like our page 2 of notes here. So they Google searched sleep paralysis, started learning what sleep paralysis was, the people in this documentary, and eventually all of these people did go to the doctor, okay? So I did go to the doctor as well, because I was worried I was having like trauma. I was like, fix me, and they literally can't figure out anything what's personally wrong. Like, they did, like, these people in the film were like, they went through all of these different studies, sleep studies and everything, and nothing was wrong. But there was one thing that they did find out that I want to talk about, and I'm trying to remember right here, it's science. So there was a couple of people that ended up doing sleep studies, and while they were asleep, the lab or doctors, wherever they were able to determine that they had a high chemical compound that was being produced called adrenochrome, right?
Adrenochrome.
And you spell it with ADRENOCHROME. So we paused the film and became Ghost Girl investigators, okay?
Yes.
And this is where we got, like, Chanel and I nerded out, like, hardcore, right? So go ahead, Chanel. So we looked up endochrome and like what the chemical compound is. So in other words, the doctors were literally able to measure this chemical that was coming out of these people.
Right.
While they were having sleep paralysis.
So when you think of negative entities or demonic entities feeding off of fear, this is where this comes in. So adrenochrome it's like a chemical compound produced by the oxidation, what did we say, of adrenaline. Mm-hmm. So it's the fear chemical, and it controls like the fight or flight mechanisms, mm-hmm. and it also releases glucose into the bloodstream, which causes you to basically have a power up. So because mm-hmm. you're getting ready to run for your life, but when you're in sleep paralysis, you're paralyzed, mm-hmm. so you can't move.
You can't move. You're paralyzed, but you're still emitting the chemical.
Right. And
which is really creepy.
These beings, they say it feels like these beings want you to be afraid. Obviously, mm-hmm. so that would make sense in this scenario, them feeding off your fear. Mm-hmm. Also reminded me of, we did go see Dr. Sleep. Mm-hmm. No spoilers,
oh God,
but
it's terrible, but no spoilers.
If you haven't seen the movie,
it was horrible, but no spoilers.
There are these beings that do feed off of children's fear.
Right.
In the movie.
Right.
So that's, I don't know, it's really disturbing.
It is disturbing. So in other words, even like we just watched Dakota and Chelsea the other night, right? Literally like 2 nights ago. And Chelsea was like screaming at the top of her lungs, and Dakota's saying, just please leave me alone. Okay, this is a fight or flight response. So in other words, they're having like a high amount of what is it called? Adrenochrome, the chemical compound. And when this emits, they think, this is what Chanel and I researched. This is not in the documentary, okay? This is Chanel and Krystal being like smart with science and loving science, okay? So basically when you get scared at any point, so for Chelsea, she screams at the top of her lungs. It's probably her fight or flight instinct making her scream.
To scream,
She probably can't control it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And with Dakota, he's gonna fight, but he's sitting in one place saying, "Just leave me alone." But it's also probably an auto response of his body just chilling in one spot. And honestly, they're walking him the other night saying, "God, we got to get down to Chelsea. There's something dangerous. We think someone's in here." Dakota freezes and stays in one spot. So that's his auto response. which is really interesting. So anyway, going back to this with the science side of it. So you get the signal that goes into your adrenal glands that sends it to your torso that causes them to send out high amounts of cortisol and adrenaline to your body because adrenaline is what makes you move, okay? So basically what I'm saying here is anyone that ghost hunts, anytime you get afraid, you're going to emit this chemical. Even if you're staying calm, you're still emitting the chemical, which is the whole old school response of they feed off of your fear.
It's a literal thing.
It literally happens. So when you're afraid in a lockdown or ghost hunt and you're scared and people say don't get afraid, they're going to feed off your fear. Even if you pretend like you're poker facing it, you're still emitting a chemical, right? But I'm assuming like all electromagnetic fields with Chelsea per se, I have never seen someone scream so loud and so hard so many times. She is attracting them like a mofo to her.
Yeah.
Right? From Destination Fear. Because she's basically emerging all of this energy and EMFs and they're like, yes, go for the girl. She's full of energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, now we get to talk about Krystal for a minute because this is really, really, really interesting to me. So, what did I just say? I said that your the bloodstream causes you to power up, run for your life, which causes you to send out high amounts of cortisol and adrenaline throughout your body. That was weird. The doorknob just moved. Did you see that?
What?
Yeah.
What?
My doorknob just moved like someone came in it, but nobody's there.
Nope.
I mean, you know what? I've been dealing with ghosts my whole life. I'm not shocked. So remember, going back to Krystal is the only one that has sleep paralysis, right? I also have, in January, I released my big secret, which was I have Addison's disease, which means I have extremely low adrenaline and extremely low cortisol. But at night is when your cortisol is the highest. And I know this because I have to get tested like every 6 months for my cortisol to see how it is and whatnot. So I have to usually go in fasting and overnight, and I have to go in before like 8:30 in the morning to get my blood work done. So I am somehow producing finally amounts of cortisol that they can probably access. I also don't have high amounts of adrenaline. So when you guys have ghost hunted with me, how often do I jump or get scared or scream?
Not often.
Not really. And I think it's because I have such low cortisol and low adrenaline. So if I hear a noise, I'm just like, yo, I heard that. Did you hear that? And Chanel's like, oh my God, did you? And Kat's like, Kat's our yeller. So anyway, I found it really interesting to have that like correlation going on, considering I'm the only one, you know, with this like adrenaline issue, yet I'm the one with the sleep paralysis, so it's very interesting. So anyway, moving forward with that, Kat, I talked to you about their faith, sort of. What's your opinion with the whole faith thing, with the people that were able to pull out of it versus the people that were not able to pull out of sleep paralysis?
Like for calling for St. Michael.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I feel like anything, right? Intention is everything. So it's kind of like what you put behind it to help with the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's really hard to tell because I guess from a science standpoint, you have all of these like, you know, these chemical imbalances or whatever going on. That's like kind of concrete evidence. But as far as like calling for an angel or a guide or something like that, you know, it works. Like right. I've had this experience, you've had those experiences, and like it's always worked. But it's one of those things where it's like, is it actually though? Because it's nothing. You can't really have anything concrete with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of more of like a theory, or I don't know.
Well, some people in the documentary though were atheists.
Yes.
And the people that were atheists are still having horrible, horrible sleep paralysis to this day. Well, I would say there was a couple agnostic, mostly atheists. But, which is, you know, it's none of my business. I'm not, like, pushing a religion down anybody's throat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what people believe. I will say that I don't want sleep paralysis, and if that means calling for my Jesus, okay,
I'ma
look,
do it.
Jesus, where you at, boo? I need you.
What you do.
You know what I mean? And that's true. So my experience with getting myself out of sleep paralysis, I only saw like the shadow man without a face one time. I still get sleep paralysis about 1 to 2 times a month. I have a feeling since I got it last night, I'm going to have it maybe 1 or 2 more times this month. You know what I mean? But the minute I know that it's going on, I literally just have to say the word like St. Michael in my head and I'm out of it.
Done.
And I mean, this has happened a lot. And like, when I'm conscious, like it probably takes me 10 or 20 seconds to realize, girl, you're in sleep paralysis. Like, what you gonna do? And then I'm out of it. 'Cause I'm not even playing around. Like, I don't play with demons. They're not my friends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't hang out with them. Join the circle, okay, but no demons for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's true though. But then the people that were in the documentary that did have some sort of religious faith did call for St. Michael or Jesus or God or whatever, and they got out of the sleep paralysis. One girl in the documentary said since she called for Jesus, she never had another sleep paralysis session in her life.
And that was actually one that was atheist, and she became a Christian after
Yes,
that.
yep. She said she was atheist at first, and then it scared her so bad she became a Christian.
Yep.
So, what's your opinion on, do you think it's demonic activity or alien activity, Kat?
That's a hard one. I guess it depends, because it depends on the experience. You know what I mean? Like, I was reading on some of the notes there, like, some people were speaking Latin, you know, which would tend to be more, like, demonic, right? Mm-hmm. And then there are other experiences that would be more, like, poking fun or, like, alien activity. Right. You know what I mean? But I mean, it depends. It depends on your situation. For me, though, I would probably say demonic, considering how dark it is.
Right.
Unless we're sorry, go ahead, Kat.
Adjust this.
You go.
Unless we're crossing the line of, are some extraterrestrial encounters demonic?
Or could you say that some demons look like aliens?
Right.
True.
We could just play back and forth all day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I can only speak off of my experience, which was I felt the energy of that thing, and it was definitely demonic. Like, I just know. You know what I mean? But, like, in this documentary, too, Chanel, you can go over this part, they talked about, like, 7 or 10 different, like, beings from different cultures and different countries where they've actually experienced the same things, too.
Yeah, different entities. So America sees red-eyed demons.
Red-eyed demons, yep. There's always a color red involved.
Yes.
Even if it's like a light in the background, or one girl said like a red cape. There's always red somewhere involved.
And then in Bangladesh, it's the boba. Mm-hmm. In Thailand, I'm going to butcher this.
Phiam or Phiam, P-H-I.
In Mongolia, Daraki or Darak or something.
Daraka, I think.
Darak. China, Golyoshen, shadow men, cats on the chest, or incubus and succubus.
Mm-hmm. And metal tools are always involved.
There's also, obviously, the Hat Man and the Old Hag.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The Old Hag has been seen, too, which is like a woman in like kind of like a, I guess like a cape thing, and then she's all hunched over. And she looks very old, and there's, like, a veil, and, like, very old, like, maybe 200 years old, literally, with the lines, and, like, she's very, like, what did they call it? They called it very, oppressive, was the feeling.
Yeah, and also, some people actually see different beings in different locations. Mm-hmm. So,
which would make sense, though, right?
Yes.
So that means, like, the shadow man's living in your house when you're having an issue.
Right.
But you went to your sister's house, and she has the black cat or something that sits on your chest.
Like one of the guys, I think it was Jeff was his name, one of the people in the documentary saw, like, for the nursery, it was those static alien beings, and then at a friend's house, it was some dude with, like, I don't know, like warts on his face or something, and then at an Indian reservation, it was this black...
Like a jaw he was looking through.
Yeah.
Like a film jaw. He was like an open mouth jaw, and he could see like the sharp teeth of whatever it was, and it was like there was like a thing going on past that. So it's really weird. I've never had that, thank God. Jesus Lord, take the wheel. Not my thing. It's like so traumatic, isn't it? But then, you know, people go to the doctors say, oh, maybe you're having some fits of depression, maybe it's stress-induced. There was a guy that literally said that he had, like, changed his lifestyle, he changed his diet, he eliminated caffeine, he was, like, super healthy, and he still was getting sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
And doctors can't and he's like, I can wake up and, like, write notes of exactly what happened. Like, I know what was going on. So, yeah, there was some really dark stuff that was in this. There's forums on Reddit, people have said that they can see. So I was kind of online, like, I had noticed they had briefly brought up in the documentary an old photo. It was, like, an oil painting from, like, wasn't like 1781 or something like that, Chanel? The Nightmare, 1781, Henry Fussey, Fussey? Fuseli, and it was a woman asleep with sleep paralysis with an incubus sitting on her chest. And that photo was inspired by Frankenstein, so some of the stories in Frankenstein. But once again, that had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, all lore comes from somewhere, doesn't it? Like, I personally feel like. But then there's also something I found interesting about Edgar Allan Poe. And he had a short story that he wrote in 1839, because we love our Poe, right? Yeah. Shout out to Edgar, boo. We want to come investigate you on the East Coast at some point. But yeah, he said that he wrote a short story about it, and it says, "There sat upon my heart an incubus of utterly causing alarm." And it says, his last line is, "One of the most unexplored religions of art are dreams," is what it says. So, anyway, is it subconscious? I don't think so, especially because I've experienced it myself, and it's not fun. And clearly, I've gotten to a point where I, like, get myself out of it freaking immediately.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun to go through. You know what I mean? What else do you guys want to add to this little chat?
I just want to say, like, I just think it's so weird. I can't imagine, I mean, because I haven't experienced sleep paralysis before, but I can't imagine hearing these stories and your experiences and not being in control or not, like, with your body. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that's terrifying to me.
Well,
that's totally
Larry
terrifying.
just said it appears is that they might appear as what you fear, but I have to be honest and say that I've seen shadow people and I've seen crawlers in Jerome, and I don't really have a fear of those, so I don't really think I agree with that statement, because I saw the shadow man without a face, and that wouldn't be the first time, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not really, that's not, like, my biggest fear. Moths would be. If it appeared as a moth or a butterfly, I would have wet the bed. You know what I'm saying? But if I couldn't move, I shouldn't say that. Now someone's gonna, like, cast a, like, black magic spell against me with a moth.
No, they will not.
Like, summon in my house. But don't worry, I got my St. Michael boo. I'm safe. I'm not worried about it. No, so I don't really know if I agree with that. That's a good theory, though.
Sorry, this is, like, sort of going back to this one guy, I think it was, let me see, hold on. So the one guy mentions that before he goes into his sleep paralysis, he sees colors. Oh, yeah. So, like, different
like laser shows
colors.
Almost.
Yeah. And there was a time where he had woken up, he took a nap, and he woke up, answered his phone, couldn't hear the person on the other line, walked through his house, kept saying hello, 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 and the guy finally came in clear, and he said that the guy's voice was, like, really nice and, you know, kind, and then the guy on the other line was saying, "I just want you to do me a favor." The guy's like, "Okay, what kind of favor?" And in this, like, demonic voice, he says, "Let me in."
Right.
And it reminds me of the other dude who popped out of his body. Right. And they were trying to get into
his body. Yeah, right. Which is very insidious.
Same, like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's dark. Thank God that didn't happen to me. Makes me, like, really... It's so real, though. Like, I could literally, like, if I was good at drawing, and I'm not, I could literally draw, like, frame for frame what even happened to me. But it's really sad, because these people will say, like, you know, they'll tell their friends and family, and, like, no, it was a nightmare. Oh, you just had a bad night of sleep. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I was awake for, like, 8 hours, stuck in my body. And, like, knew everything that was going on. You know what I mean? And then they wake up not rested, because they feel like they've been awake the whole night, but then they technically are rested because their body was asleep.
Sleeping.
How confusing is that? Like, your mind would be just so confused. Towards the end of the documentary, there was a guy, he's the one that's, like, the atheist that he's had, like, the worst experiences.
Yes.
He's at the end of the documentary saying, I know that sleep paralysis is going to kill me eventually, and I have made peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He says, one day I know that I'm not going to wake up and my body's going to be dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that is dark. Holy crap.
Terrifying.
It is, like,
That's
to believe
terrifying.
you're not going to make it out of that, like, holy crap. So anyway,
Wow.
I don't know. A lot of people have said, too, like, they did admit sometimes when the paralysis was worse, there was, like, depression around.
High stress times.
But I'm not, I mean, I know I've had a hard year, but I even had sleep paralysis last night, and I'm not stressed right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if I can agree with that once again. Like, if they're trying to blame it on stress-induced or, like, depressive times. Like, even when I was living in that haunted house in Colorado Springs, I wasn't depressed or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and trying to find a logical explanation for something that's there's probably none. You know?
Well, I also think they have to be, like, these people, in my opinion, and I'm part of that group, right, unfortunately, because I've experienced sleep paralysis. But normally I don't see things, I'll hear things. I'll hear, like, talking, and I'll hear my name being called, and that's when I'm like, crap, I'm awake.
Yeah.
But, like, I guess the weird thing is maybe the people that are having sleep paralysis, myself included, maybe we are that, like, whole beacon in the night, and these things know that they can interact with you, and you're open to seeing them, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was even asking Chanel, I said, what's your opinion on, why do you get sleep paralysis only at night? Or why are you getting sleep paralysis only when you're asleep? And these things are happening, these demons. And our only conclusion we can come to is, if you're conscious while your body is asleep, you're most vulnerable.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's when they're going to come for you, when you're most... Because when you're, like, alert, like Kat said, being in control, why would you let something in or take you over if you're in control fully?
Right.
Right.
So, I don't know. That's my opinion.
Wow.
What else do you want to add? Anything else? Climbing into bed. Succubus, incubus. What do you guys think of the succubus-incubus theory?
That's definitely demonic. Like,
well, no,
but
but do you think it's, like, possible, Kat? Do you think it's possible?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So incubi is the male for the woman, and succubus is the female for the male.
Correct.
And usually it's, like, luring, like, sexual incantation things happening.
Mm-hmm. And it can be same-sex.
Oh, it can be.
Well,
Okay.
From what I've read.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yes, from what I've read up on it.
Right.
But yeah, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Right. So do you think these oil paintings from the 1700s are accurate?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then attachments and all that stuff. And once again, because you're most vulnerable while you're asleep, right? So
Correct.
the last little bit that I wanted to share from this documentary was the cat one.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me was, like, the most horrifying story of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So there's this guy, and I told you about it, Kat, today, right?
Yeah, he did. We chatted about it.
So there's this guy who's always had sleep paralysis. He has, like, a one-bedroom apartment, and he had some of his friends over, platonic friends, and they were asleep in his room with him because he has a one-bedroom, on opposite areas. And he's asleep, and he got sleep paralysis. And he said he felt, like, kind of ashamed and embarrassed because his friends are there.
Right.
And now he's like, oh God, like, I don't want, maybe he didn't want them to know, who knows. So he's asleep, and he feels a being come in the room. And this is, once again, a shadow man with no face. But he says, once again, relaying it to very tall, like, if the room was 8 feet, it was, like, 10.5 feet tall. So tall, it was bent over him. Long, slender, like, appendages and hands and fingers. And all of a sudden, it opens its eyes, and he sees red eyes. So once again, referencing back to red. And it starts telling him that he's going to die, like, over, like, a repeated cycle. So a very tall, black, what Kat would say, slender man with beating red glowing eyes. And
he said, you know who I am, you don't know who I am right now, but you know me, and I know you, you're going to die.
You're going to die. And he kept repeating, you're going to die, part over and over. So then all of a sudden, as he's in sleep paralysis, his friend that's in the room, it's a girl, starts screaming so loud that it actually wakes him up out of sleep paralysis. And she says that the reason she was screaming was she had a dream that felt like a real nightmare. So she could have also been in sleep paralysis. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But she said that she saw a black cat sitting on her chest with glowing red eyes, looking at him, speaking it to him in another language like Latin. So she didn't understand that it was saying, you know who I am, you don't know who I am right now, but you know me, and I know you, and you're going to die. So she didn't hear that, but she thought what was like Latin or something. So this guy said, all of a sudden, I've gone to all these doctor's appointments, they're telling me it's like stress-induced, depression-induced, but now my friend has seen it. And now I'm realizing, yes, it came to her in cat form, which is also could be succubus, incubus.
Yeah.
Yet I see it as like the dark shadow Slender Man. So I thought that was crazy that there was like an eyewitness account that happened.
Right.
Someone seeing something very, very similar. And it scared her so bad she screamed and woke herself up and woke everyone up in the room.
Yeah.
So anyway, how did you feel about that story?
That would probably, that honestly would take the cake as the creepiest.
Yeah, it was really dark.
Part.
It was really weird. Thank God I didn't see like the red eyes when I experienced that. But that's honestly why too, I've trained my brain. I trained my brain with nightmares to get myself out of nightmares. Because there's a very big difference between a nightmare versus, like, sleep paralysis. Because, like, a nightmare,
right.
You're having all the weird things and you're, like, in a different place. Where sleep paralysis, you're like, I'm stuck and someone get me out. You know what I mean? So
right.
I've trained my brain to literally all I have to do is, like, say St. Michael and I'm, like, up and out of whatever darkness is going on. So thank God that I've trained my brain for that. Because I don't like... It's interesting, though, because... Here's my opinion, because I think, too, like, nightmares are also visitations from things, because I will have those sometimes as well, especially, particularly, I have a lot of paranormal friends, obviously, famous and non-famous, that will investigate, and sometimes I will get nightmares of some of their attachments that I've told you guys about. I'll be asleep and have a horrible nightmare, and I know that it's this person's attachment coming to, like, scare me or attempt to scare me or visit me or whatever.
Right.
Cat's like, mood. It's a mood.
Yep, literally.
But I feel like those nightmares and sleep paralysis, too, okay, when we're investigating, the three of us, Kat is very much, like, of the light, for sure. Like, she is, like, the light side 100%, right? She's always
100%.
laughing and giggling. I think the dark stuff likes to scare you because it knows you're scared, but you don't particularly attract it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then Chanel attracts the dark stuff, which is whatever. That's Chanel, okay? It's just who Chanel is, you know? And I feel like I'm very much, like, in the middle. I feel like I'm in the middle of both. But generally speaking... The dark stuff does tend to be very afraid of me, where it doesn't mind scaring Kat because it knows it can scare her, where with me, I repel it almost. So it's interesting to me. I wondered if that was a theory, too. If you're in sleep paralysis or having a nightmare or whatever, for me in particular, is it because they know they can't scare me even during an investigation? So they have to wait for that moment where I'm totally, quote, vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then because I've had horrible nightmares where, like, things will come to, like, hurt my animals or my family or my friends, and then that's when you panic in a nightmare. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's because you also feel like you're not in control. So it's like they like it. It's like the mind games of, like, being in control. It's like a typical, like, abuser. Look, demons, okay. I don't have time for your shiznit right now.
Krystal a break.
Yeah, Krystal needs a break, demons. Okay, look,
well,
yeah.
And you think about it, right? How we were just talking about how these energies feed off of fear, right? So you could also say that, you know, I'm the light or whatever, and, you know, things like to scare me because I jump or, you know, get scared, that it feeds off of that. Mm-hmm. And it wants to feed off of it. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things again where it can kind of be a parallel with really like anything, especially investigative.
Right, yeah, I mean, Chanel, like, attracts it nastily. She had a demon boyfriend at one of our big last investigations, and he was like, I love you.
Yeah, no.
That's a no from me.
That's a no from me,
That's a no from me, okay? Like, because he definitely, and then Kat, like, you got scared in that investigation. You were jumpy. It was obviously making you jump. Especially overnight when you were asleep. You kept, like, we shared a room and you kept grabbing me. You're like, and then for me, it cussed me out.
Yeah.
Which proved that I repel it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's going to tell me what I think, but I'm going to tell you to F off, because that's literally verbatim what it said to me.
So Kat is a beacon.
So Kat's like the energy source. It likes you, and it tells me to F off. It's like, literally, Kat, you're the energy source, girl. I need you to really get it together here. You know what I mean? Which it makes you wonder, too, though, because we went to Universal Studios, so it makes you wonder if people, like, actual humans can sense energy, too. Because people, when we were at Universal Studios, walking through, like, it was the big haunted thing they do yearly. It was last year, so 2018. They were only people that were, like, dressed as scary monsters were only going up to Kat.
Yeah.
Literally. There was, and we had, at the time, Brittany was with us, and Blake, and they were not coming up to any of us except Kat.
Yeah.
So it's almost like humans can read that energy, too. So you're like, great, thanks, I appreciate it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, yeah, so true.
So you're the energy source of the group. It's because you have such a big personality and you laugh nonstop. And they're like, ooh, if we want energy, let's poke the bear. There's the bear. You're like, thank you.
True.
It is. It's true. See,
See,
and then Krystal will like, I have no...
You're a neutralizer.
I'm a neutralizer, and I just don't care about, like, if it's dark. Like, I'm the first one when something dark comes in to be like, but is it really? Or is it faking? And Chanel's like, yes, the darkness.
And I literally use Chanel as a human shield.
I know, it's true, too, literally. Oh my gosh, poor Chanel, she's just, like, over it. She's like, look, stop pulling on my backpack, Kat. You can't crawl inside of it. She is. Oh my gosh. So, well, so what about, like, movies that we talked about? So Nightmare on Elm Street is also related.
There's one, Communion with Christopher Walken, and Natural Born Killers.
Which I haven't seen some of those.
I don't think I've seen Communion or Natural Born Killers.
I haven't seen it at all. But they say that there's always, like, there can be red tunnels and vortexes involved, too.
Yeah.
Which have been seen in these films, which is what these people that have experienced sleep paralysis enjoy, being able to visually see something, like, that they've been through before. Which, I don't know. I mean, I was really excited in the documentary hearing the guy say that he saw his body himself when he was standing outside of his body, because I've experienced that.
Yeah.
So, because that sounds crazy. You're like, oh yeah, I was outside my body watching myself.
Right.
Like, it sounds like I am astral projecting. Not by choice, boo. I want it back in. I didn't know how I was going to get back in there.
Don't want to sleep.
I literally just remember just clapping outside of my face. Like, wake up. Krystal. I was like singing, come on, go get up. I was like stomping. I didn't know how to do it, you know what I mean? I was like, please, just let me back in. Like, I don't want to be out here. So it is really interesting, though. So that made me feel better, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, someone said there's a quote here. That's the one we already talked about. Never mind. I felt bad for the kids, though, that were saying they were, like, 2 and 5 years old, and they're like, my parents just didn't believe me.
Yeah.
And then they were, like, deathly afraid of not only their bedroom, but their bed. And they still wouldn't, like, their parents wouldn't let them not be in their room.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, so I don't know, all I'm saying is if I have kids and, you know, I mean, I don't know at this point if I'm going to have them. I have fur babies. But if I do, I'm going to believe them.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you guys? I mean, like, especially for, like, the paranormal experiences I had growing up, like, I would always believe my kids if they said something was wrong, you know?
Yep.
I also want to mention one of the ladies said that she had her grandmother visit her, or her mother.
Oh, I don't like that.
Visit her.
I didn't like that.
And she said that the experience was positive, but she said that deep down she felt like even though the energy from her mother was positive, she felt like there was also something else within the room that she feels could be this thing. So,
or it may have been her mom at first, or it mimicked her mom's energy, but it was like hiding. It was like a mask type of thing.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, she was talking about not a nightmare, sleep paralysis. If I'm in sleep paralysis and something's claiming to be my mama, I'm gonna be like, I don't think so, boo.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're a liar, because that's what demons are good at doing. So I was really afraid for her when she was like, I really think it was like, the first few times I was really convinced it was my mom. But then after that, I started really questioning it. I'm like, do you really, once again, like, I've said this before as a joke on the channel. People are like, oh, my house is haunted, but it's like probably my late aunt, like, Carol. You really think Aunt Carol's slamming doors around here, boo? I don't think so. Aunt Carol's, like, moved on.
Aunt Carol better be paying some
She's
bills.
chilling on the other side. Like, this is not Aunt Carol. You know what I mean? And same with, like, you're in sleep paralysis. You can't move. You're frozen. You really think your mama is giving you a hug during sleep paralysis? Like, that's a toxic relationship if your mom wants you to be paralyzed while she's giving you a hug. I mean, that's just a personal statement. I don't know how y'all feel, but that's me.
No.
My Colorado's
no.
going to come out.
That's a no.
Yeah, that's a big no for me. So anyway, don't let demons hug you during sleep paralysis. That's like the moral of the story. What's another moral of the story? I feel bad for you if you're agnostic or atheist, but that's none of my business.
The color red.
The color red is bad when you're
I
having
guess.
sleep paralysis. And once again, referring back to the one guy that says, like, I'm ready to die. Like, if it happens, he's very agnostic or atheist, one of the two, and is okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's had, like, he literally claims he has sleep paralysis every single night.
Yeah.
That is
So,
terrifying.
I feel like at some point you'd have to really question yourself to be like, do you really enjoy that? Is he enjoying it? Is it like sadomasochism type of thing? You know what I mean?
know.
Like,
I feel like it would have gotten insane by now.
right. Well,
Yeah.
he did for a bit. He said that for a while he would turn a TV on and it would help stop the sleep paralysis. And then eventually it would start again. So then he put 2 TVs in the room and that helped. And pretty soon he had like 20 TVs in his room going to try to stop the sleep paralysis. But I feel like it'd just be a lot easier to be like, look, I need some Jesus up in here. You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be easier?
Yeah.
That's a lot of like clutter to be carrying in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Kidding.
But that's just my opinion. So, but he's also doing research with it too. And he says he wants to find out how he can help others before he actually dies. That's dark, bro. Like,
really
I feel like you shouldn't accept death like that easy. And although we work with death daily, clearly with paranormal, but I still feel like you're here on Earth, so I feel like you should make the most out of it while you're here. Is just my opinion.
I agree.
And that's also why when we investigate too, like there are some very serious moments during investigations that you need to take serious.
Mm-hmm.
But we find comic relief. Sometimes by rescuing animals, things like that. You know, we find comic relief while we're investigating because you need that, though. Like, you have to remember, like, you're still alive. Like, you're still part of this earth.
Still human.
Anyway, any last thoughts, moments anybody wants to add or agree with, or it's dark? I can't believe I'm the only one that has sleep paralysis here. It's rude. Why do I always have to be the only one doing crazy things?
I know. That's how it always ends up being.
That's true. Or else I'm the first one. I'm either the first always, or I'm the only. And I just don't appreciate it at this point. Like, I want to take one of you bitches down with me. Somebody else needs to experience sleep paralysis. I'm just kidding. So, yeah. Anyway, really cool topic. If you haven't seen it, let's see, what is it called? The Nightmare from 2015. It was on Sundance. Shout out to Sundance. And it was also on Netflix. And then it's off Netflix now, but you can still find it. I looked up this director, which I don't have his name in front of me. Can you look it up?
I think it's...
but he also did, he's like a super paranormal director. He did another movie, like, it's a movie about a movie, if you can imagine that for a second. He basically took the metaphors from The Shining.
Rodney Asher?
Rodney Asher. Okay, is he from the States, or?
East Side is all it says.
That's probably LA, or maybe not.
The Nightmare Room 237.
Room 237 is about the Shining.
The S from Hell. Andy and his grandmother.
I feel like I want him to come on and investigate with us.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, really into all this, like, weird stuff. This is him. This is the director. So, anyway, yeah, really cool. His name, he's on social media. Chanel is following him. I need to. Rodney Asher is his name, in case anyone's wanting to look it up. It's, RODNEY_Ashner, ASCHER. Really cool dude.
Yeah.
Really cool dude. So anyway, that is our chat for tonight. This is our official first Haunted Huddle, which is our new series for Saturdays. How do you think it went?
I think it went fantastic.
Yeah, what do you think, Kat?
Oh, well. So exciting.
I love creepy topics. Like, it's okay to be, like, still all, like, into ghosts and paranormal and stuff, but sometimes you gotta switch it up, you know?
Absolutely.
And I love creepy stuff. Yeah, I love good documentaries, too, and I feel like this was a good... Clearly, it was so creepy, Blake couldn't even sit through it. Someone who's been to war twice couldn't sit through it, so...
It's creepy.
It is creepy. They did really
Especially
good.
if you're somebody that experiences.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
There's just so many different theories you can go.
It is. Well, I mean, and obviously it's something that has been a part of human history for, like, literally hundreds of years. And it's not just United States. There's people all over the world that experience the same thing. They just, in different cultures, it's called different things.
Germany, China.
Yep. Literally. But
Mongolia. Just all
Belgium,
these...
there's one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
America.
Creepy. That's a no from me. It's just saying no to demons, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to go. We have to get offline now, though, because tonight is another...
Destination Fear and new Ghost Adventures.
Ghost Adventures, they were getting a little bit of flack earlier on social media.
They were, because...
She's laughing. Did you see the promo for it, Kat?
No.
For the Ghost Adventures? Zach is in some house with a Satanist tonight.
Oh, I saw the portrait.
And they're like doing, they're conjuring or something?
Yeah, so basically the Satanist is doing a ritual tonight for them before they're locked down. And,
And people are saying that it's not paranormal anymore, you've gone too far.
But he's done this before.
Bagans. Like, I feel like demons are his thing, so I'm not, look at my shocked face. He purchased...
I kind of prepped that he has a portrait of himself. The Satanist.
Yeah, I saw that. He's an interesting person, isn't he? He's an interesting person.
He's very unique.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. Let's just be nice. Because we don't need any black magic over here. You know what I mean?
No. Amen.
But yeah, he seems very dedicated to his craft. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
That is perfect.
It is. Yeah, I'm trying to be delicate here. Like, this is the light side. Let's be nice. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But yeah, so Zach is into his demons, so I'm not shocked by that.
Glad Jay is there.
I mean, he did buy the demon house and did a documentary about it. Jay is like the occult specialist of the group.
Okay.
You're like our Jay.
Okay.
Because you like weird things like crow bones and stuff. But that's another topic. Maybe we need to do that for another topic. You know what I mean?
No, we don't.
Chanel. Chanel's quiet. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know a lot of people have been looking for the podcast. It is not up until the first episode is uploaded. So I'm going to have to download the audio from this and then upload it for our podcast, and then you will be able to see it. Should be on all major streaming services, so check for that. I don't know how long the upload takes and whatnot. I would say probably tomorrow is a better time for you to actually find the podcast, but it will be under just our regular name, which is Goat Girl Diaries. Just kidding. Ghost Girl. It's Ghost Girl. We call ourselves Goat Girl sometimes, though. It's kind of fun.
We got goats.
Nobody can pun us if we're making fun of ourselves. You know what I mean?
It's true.
So
that's how you do
we're going to pull a T-Swift. We've already got this under control. We have also resurrected several times.
Yes.
Just like T Swift.
Right.
So I feel like we're safe. We're good.
We've been here for a while.
Oh my God, Chanel. People are gonna be like, they are undead. I knew it. That's why. I just knew it. Oh my God.
Secrets out. Secrets out.
Secrets out.
How do you feel about animal bones and taking them home? Ask for permission first. From the spirit, you know.
Guides, whatever.
You have to do that.
The animal.
It's nice to ask for permission before you take something, because the last thing you want is a curse of some kind from that specific animal because you took him and he didn't want to be taken. Does that make sense?
I mean, look, I wouldn't take him anyway if I asked. That's all I'm saying. Because I'm just like, that scares me. Knowing me, I would get like a demonic attachment from it or something. So that's a no from me. But remember, Chanel is on the dark side, which is...
Okay, I'm not on the dark side. It's just, you know... Okay, fine.
Chanel, a little bit. Like a little bit.
Okay,
just
Chanel, keep telling yourself that. It's totally
We
fine.
love you, though.
I know. But that's who you are, though. I feel like you're like into creepy stuff. That's like that's who you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who would you be without it? Right.
I would be...
Boring.
Dumb.
Boring. Let's not be boring.
Boring.
Oh my God. See, Kat's still laughing. She's still our energy source, just laughing over there, knitting.
You know, yeah. I'm such a grandma. Grandma. Literally.
Oh, I love it.
They finally got a filter on Snapchat for you.
I know. The grandma filter. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I was sending snaps to Krystal and Chanel, like, as soon as I saw it.
The little grandma hair and the
Like,
glasses.
it's me. It's actually me.
I love it. Oh my God, I'm dead. Okay, well, so Monday we'll be back with another stream. I can't decide if that will be on the podcast yet or not. Mondays is, what is Mondays? Dead Time?
Dead Time.
And that's where we talk about what we're going to watch tonight, which is Dakota's show and Zach's episode, because clearly it stirred a big old ruckus up on social media. There's also some more tea regarding Amy Bruni and some chip coffee that I'm sure Kat will address on Monday. Monday is Dead Time, so I think we're gonna do that stream about the same time. So Saturdays, this is a late stream. These will be earlier normally. We're just kind of getting back in the loop of streaming. So Monday night about 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST. We'll be spilling some paranormal tea.
All the tea.
Watch out for Dead
Nice and
Time.
hot.
Yep, and go watch Ghost Adventures and Destination Fear so you guys can be alert with us. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you comment if you're on YouTube so you keep our updates coming through since we've been shadow banned a little bit. And follow us on social media. And thank you, Miss Catherine and Shanae to the Nene.
You are welcome.
I had fun with our little chat, and as always, we will catch you guys
Next time.
Next time.
next time. Bye, guys. Thanks.